Have you ever been bamboozled or completely tricked, just like the Tinder swindler on Netflix? Well, I know so many people have because you guys have written into me, so I'm sharing part 2 of relationship red flags. So a little while back, I shared my own Tinder swindler story. If you haven't watched that video, don't worry, I will link it so you can go back and watch that first video and hear other people's stories of their own Tinder swindler or bamboozlement. Is that a word? Whoa, just FYI, stomach is growling. I just ate breakfast. I have no idea, but we're making weird noises over here. So if you hear that's my stomach, which I'm pretty sure is like over here now because of this child. Anywho, I shared my own Tinder swindler story last time, but I wanted to share stories from 2 of my friends from college. One is still my best friend. She's currently pregnant at the same time as me. And another one was one of our roommates, and they both got bamboozled at the same freaking time. So first, let's get into one of my friend's stories. She had this guy she was dating, super nice guy, hung out with us all the time, wanted to go out and party. He was just fun. He was a great guy. We loved him. And one day, my friend goes to pick up his backpack because he would go to class with us. He would walk to campus. We would go to all our different ways to classes, and he would go his. And so she picked up his backpack to give it to him, and she noticed that there was nothing in his backpack. It was completely empty. So she was like, well, that's kind of weird. And so we're like, well, why would he have nothing in his backpack? Like, why would you even carry a backpack? Like, if you're not going to write anything down, then why carry one? And she noticed that this happened a couple times. And so we decided to look him up in our school system. So at the time, we worked at the rec center. We were different managers, so we could look up anybody in the system. And it included people who had already graduated as well. So we decided to look up his name, and we couldn't find him anywhere in the system. Not graduated in the past. He had never been a student on campus in any way, even if he had like quit college, nothing. So we started doing some digging. Well, turns out he was one of the biggest drug dealers on campus. So he wasn't going to campus to study, to go to class. No, he was going to campus to talk to people about drug deals. And we were like super anti-drugs back then. You know, I don't feel that way about drugs anymore now that I know more about them. But he was selling drugs up the wazoo. Now, I wonder if he has a job since weed is legal here in Colorado. Anywho, she found out she was dating the biggest drug dealer on campus without knowing it, and he wasn't even a student. So, you know, she got a little bamboozled. She ended things with him after that. Now this one, from my other friend, my other roommate in college, both of these women had bamboozlement happening at the same time. So our roommate, she was dating this guy, and when I first met her, she was telling the story about how he had cancer. He was going to the hospital to get chemo. She would take him there. He was having such a hard time. She wasn't sure if he was going to make it. All kinds of different things. It was breaking her heart. She was so in love with him. Well, at one point, we meet his twin sister out at a bar. And she mentions how, you know, he has cancer and it's been so hard, and how is it going for her, asking how she's doing. She's like, what are you talking about? My brother doesn't have cancer. What? Well, she says, I've been taking him to the hospital to go get chemo. So I drop him off at the hospital and he goes in there and gets his chemo. What do you mean he doesn't have cancer? Very confusing. Well, turns out he was lying to her. He was shaving his head to act like he was getting chemo. And he was doing this, and so he could cheat on her with somebody else. And so he would tell her this sob story. She would drop him off at the hospital, and he would go hang out with some other woman that he was cheating on my friend with. Why would you go to such lengths to cheat on somebody? People do it all the time without talking about cancer. Well, once we found this out, we were actually friends with his twin sister and hung out with her on a regular basis. And then we'd see him at bars, and you know, we're just like raging 21-year-olds, just drunk and just yelling. And I would see him with another girl. I'm like, he faked that he had cancer. He's a crazy person. You know, just a little obnoxious, but also, what the fudge sticks? What is that about? Weirdest thing ever. If you have a story like that, you have to share it with me. But I have other stories to tell today. So I had 5 or 6 different stories that you guys have written in. I had so many of these relationship red flag stories that I had to do a part 2, and we may even have a part 3. I don't know if you want your names read, and so I have been keeping those incognito just in case. So first up, this woman who wrote me. I was on and off with guy in college. I bought my first dog during one of our on periods. My dog's name is Jackson, by the way. That was my dog's name. It was 1000% my dog. I paid for him and was ready to care for this beautiful baby puppy. The guy I was seeing happened to be there when I bought him and insisted he'd help me out. He helped out by taking the dog to the vet and putting everything in his name without informing me until after. When the time came for me to take Jackson to the vet myself, I had to contact this guy who at the time I was actively avoiding due to many red flags and emotional abuse, and have to call the vet to let them know Jackson was indeed my dog. It felt like one last disgusting jab and hurdle I had to get through, finally being done with him. Luckily, I was able to move forward after this and have the best life with my pup. Photo of this baby dog attached for your viewing pleasure. And her dog was adorable. Jackson was so freaking cute. Okay, we can all learn from this. Do not let somebody take your dog and put their name on any of the vet stuff. I mean, why would you? I wouldn't even never think about that. It wouldn't even cross my mind. But what a weird thing to do as that guy. So weird. Hold on, water break. When I was 24 years old, I was dating a pilot. I was a flight attendant for United, and him and I were dating for about 8 months. I went to his house several times. We did several layovers. He told me he was divorced, 3 kids. I had met his kids. All of a sudden, we were flying a flight to London, and on the manifest, which shows the passengers' names, I was working first class, and I saw his last name and the first name of a woman. So I said, to my flying partner, I think this is Mark's wife. So proceeded to kind of peek, and I was like, oh, she looks familiar, and I think it's his wife or ex-wife. But she had no flight benefits, so I thought it was weird because she was on standby. So I go into the cockpit and I said, Mr. blah, blah, blah. I'll leave that out. I said jokingly, your wife is in first class and I'm not going to be her flight attendant, so you have some explaining to do and you need to go get me a hotel in London. Because I had gave up my hotel because we were about to stay with each other at the same hotel. Anyways, he turned about 6 sheets of white, and sure enough, I got a hotel in London and he never spoke to me again. I had to switch our flight schedules because we had lots of flights together, and that was it. Yeah. Okay. Most importantly, why didn't she have flight benefits? Okay, that's what's really important here. Why is she flying standby? I don't get it. But I also don't know any of the things about benefits with flight privileges or whatever when you have a pilot as a husband or wife. But what I do know is things that I've been told, and I'm going to offend many people here. This is just what I've been told by different people, including some of my friends who are divorced from their pilot ex-husbands now, that pilots are up to no good. And I'm sure there's amazing pilots out there. It's just like saying men are up to no good or women are up to no good. There's a lot of men and a lot of women. But I've heard from multiple people that pilots are up to no good. They're flying all over the place. Things happen. Flight attendants stopping in different cities. But I think it just depends on the person. You're either a cheater or you're not, right? I don't know. That's a whole nother bag of red flag stuff. So many red flags. Don't mean to offend you if you have an amazing pilot husband or wife. Okay, I'm sure they're great. Okay, hey Julie, I have a fun story for you. My now ex-husband felt called into ministry and believed military chaplaincy I've never said that word before, was the best way to go. We got married in 2012, 21 or 22, packed our lives up and moved for him to attend seminary school. Everything seemed fine. He worked at several churches in the city, held so many jobs, changed his working field many times, retail sales, personal training, gym, while still going through seminary school and doing the chaplain thing once a month for the Army Guard. I figured he was sorting out his life, finding his path, yeah, we all do this many times over. After our 5-year anniversary, he planned a super special Valentine's Day dinner with another couple. I checked his location on Apple Maps that afternoon, curious, and a little nosy of me, but whatever, military wives, sometimes you gotta check as to what he was going to get me for Valentine's Day, only to find out his location locked on a residential street, Lovers Lane, Springfield, Missouri. I shit you not. Long story short, he revealed to me that he has a sex addiction and had been with 50 to 100 women. He lost count, surprisingly, in the 5 years we were married. Say that again, 50 to 100 women in the 5 years they were married. He was creating fake profiles using names of guys from high school he hated on Plenty of Fish and other dating websites, and would seal the deal with women after a few texts and disappear off the face of the earth. He carried out his addiction while we were married when he was at drill, or if he did late night Ubering, once on my birthday, mind you. I wanted to believe he could work through his addiction, so I went with him to therapy, but he eventually decided to pursue the addiction instead, and we were divorced within 3 months of the initial revelation. I thank God he didn't string me along. Growth, man. It's really good, but really hard. Oh my gosh. Man, sex addiction is an interesting topic. I don't know if that's like a science-proved thing, but I'm also a person who's not obsessed with like scientific proof. You know, there's so many things, crazy phenomena, but that one's a hard one. That would be a very, very hard thing to go through in marriage, and hopefully support that person through that recovery. That is one hell of a story. And I would love to know how many people check their husband or their wife's location on their phone, or how often do you check their phone? Is there trust with that? Is there weirdness with that? That would be an interesting topic to go into. Okay, next one. This person has 2 for me. 1, I dated a guy I met online. He worked in the state I lived in, but lived out of state. Too many red flags to count. But he said he didn't have Facebook, and yeah, I couldn't find him. Oh my gosh, the guy who bamboozled me said he didn't have Facebook. Sketch. So I called the county records in his county, and the lady looked him up and told me that there were no divorce records, and she gave me his wife's name. So I looked up the wife's name on Facebook, and bam, joint Facebook account and their little family pic. Okay, I want to know, what made you look up the divorce records in the first place? Did he tell you he's divorced? You didn't clarify that, but I'm guessing he did. Ew. Also, joint Facebooks are so weird. They're so weird. I don't get that. It bugs me for some reason. Silly thing to bug me. Number 2, talked to another guy for a while on a dating app, finally switched cell numbers. So I plugged that number into my reverse phone number app to get his full name, then plugged his full name into Google, found a mugshot and news articles about how he tried to murder his ex-girlfriend for breaking up with him. For some reason, the case got dropped. So weird. Okay, this one just blew my mind. This blew my mind. This is like what my sister-in-law can do. She knows how to find people so easily. So finally switched cell numbers. So I plugged that number into my reverse phone number app. What's a reverse phone number app? I've never heard of this before. And then to get his full name and then plug the name. Whoa, that just blew my mind. I don't know anything about that. But yeah, I think it's safe to say that that's a red flag if there's a mugshot for murder. I mean, there are some times when there's false accusations, but that's really intense. Really intense. I need to know more about this reverse phone number app. I have no idea what that means. No idea. Okay, last but not least. I was a barista at Starbucks in a beach town where I was a freshman in college. 2 20-something-year-old brothers came in with their dad after a day of deep sea fishing. One of the brothers was pretty hot and we kind of flirted back and forth. I take their orders and the dad makes a comment about his son and I flirting, and we both laugh. When they came back to pick up their drinks, the dad slipped me a note with the name Brandon on it and a phone number. Do you see where this is going? I feel like I see where this is going. I got off my shift that night and sent a text to Brandon telling him that his dad slipped me his number. We made arrangements to meet at a movie theater a few nights later. He called me the day of to confirm, and I was pretty giddy. I got off of my shift at Starbucks a little late, so I was going to be late to the movie, so I shot him a text to let him know. He replies back saying, "Movie started, so I'm inside. Theater 4, 7th row, right side. I have popcorn." I buy my ticket. Red flag number 1. Yes. How old are these kids? 20 something. Okay. Yeah. You buy your own ticket at like 14 years old with the money your parents gave you. When you're in your 20 somethings, buy the person's ticket. Ugh. Buy my own I should have read the whole comment. Buy my own snack. Red flag number 2. And go inside the theater. It's dark, but I see a lone guy in the 7th row, so I slide in next to him, lean over and whisper hi, and look up and smile, only to see it's Brandon's dad sitting there. I asked him where Brandon was, and he was a little confused. Turns out Brandon's dad had slipped me his number. I had been texting with and chatting with him, and he is the one who arranged the entire date with me. I excused myself to the restroom, literally ran to my car in the parking lot, and prayed they never came into Starbucks again. Okay, well, you can't leave us hanging and tell us if he came into Starbucks again. I'm guessing they didn't. That is so weird. Especially since he made the comment that you were flirting with his son, and then he sets up the date with himself. Oh my God, that's so weird. Ugh. And you know, I'm like all about dating in all kinds of different age ranges, but that's weird. I wish we could hear his side of him. Like, and then I just sat in the movie theater and I was like, well, I guess she's not coming back. I'll like finish my popcorn. And also, what snacks did you get? That's really what's important here. I love popcorn so much. Movie theater popcorn sounds so good, but it's so overpriced. But popcorn, okay, this is my favorite movie theater snack that I've never actually even had in the movie theater, but I would have at home. Make it at home. Butter popcorn. You got to get some salt on there. You got to get the butter in there. Very simple. And then, you know, you add peanut butter M&Ms. Regular M&Ms are great as well. Don't get me wrong. But peanut butter, not the peanut butter M&Ms with popcorn, salty popcorn. Oh my God. Stop me. That sounds so good. If you haven't tried it, highly recommend it. Sneak your own into the movie theater, okay? No, actually, we should support movie theaters. They're just a little die and breed these days, especially after COVID. Support your local movie theater and their popcorn and their peanut butter M&Ms. If they don't have peanut butter M&Ms, never go back there. Thank you guys so much for writing in your relationship red flags. I think I might have a part 3. Remember, if you want to ever share your own relationship red flags, if this sparked anything in your brain and you're like, oh my gosh, I had a similar experience. Oh my gosh, I know a pilot, whatever your story is, you can write it into secrets@paleomg.com. I want to hear from you, your crazy little stories. These were good today. These were really good. Keep yourself safe out there. Go with your gut. Figure out what a reverse phone number app is and how you would know to use it. And then use Google to your benefit. You know, start doing some deep digging. My sister-in-law is fantastic at that. If I ever want to find somebody, she knows how to. I can also look up IP addresses. You know IP addresses? Shit's crazy. Shit's crazy what you can do online these days. How are people going to hide anymore? Not from us. We'll get their name out there. We'll get their story out there. Thank you guys so much for writing in. I hope I have a part 3 coming your way. Stay tuned. And don't forget, if you want to share any stories, share them at secrets@paleomg.com, or you can write in the comment section below. Do you have a bamboozlement story, a Tinder swindler story, just like what in the hell story about dating, about being married to someone, anything? I want to hear from you. You can leave them below. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, to like and subscribe. Let's do both. Want to hang out with you, okay? We have more stories to go. And speaking of stories, I have even more videos coming your way, so stay tuned for those. I'm Juli Bauer Roth. Thank you so much for joining.